Hey, what's up shitheads? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be checking out the Kingbull Jumper Go. This is a full suspension, step-through e-bike, Bafang motor, 48 volt, 20 amp hour capacity battery, 450 pound weight limit. I mean, this bike has a lot going for it. And currently, it's selling for $19.99, minus any coupon codes I'll have available for you. And as always, those will be in the link in the description of this video. But today, we're going to go over all the specs and features, do the fun part, take it for a test ride, and find out, is the Kingbull Jumper Go the e-bike for you? Well, stick around and let's find out. Well, here you have it. It's the Kingbull Jumper Go. I believe currently this bike is only available in this one color, which is called Space Gray. You can just tell when you look at this bike, this is a nice quality e-bike. Starting here in the rear, this is an 8-speed transmission, the Shimano Altus derailleur, coupled with a Shimano 8-speed trigger shifter. This is a 20 by 4 inch fat tire e-bike, and this one is equipped with Kenda puncture-resistant tires with a knobby tread, 42-tooth chainring, Pro Wheel crankset, and metal pedals. This bike has plastic fenders, front and rear. Here's what I believe is going to be one of the highlights of this bike. This is a full suspension e-bike, but this is equipped with a D&M AO38RC rear shock. Now, I've tried this shock on a few different bikes, and this is my favorite rear shock that I've seen on any e-bike that I've tested. Couple that to the front fork, which is 100 millimeter, and unfortunately, it looks like there's no adjustment on the front fork. Benefits of an air shock in the rear means you can adjust it based on your body weight. If you want it to be firmer, you add more pressure. If you want it to be more plush, then you remove pressure. And this isn't a fully adjustable shock, which means you can adjust the compression and rebound. It's nice that this bike comes with a brand name motor, such as the Bafang in the rear, and this one's rated at 750 watts. This bike also has a 48 volt, 25 amp controller. That works out to be 1200 watt peak output. However, I've had this bike for a few months, and the initial controller that was sent with this bike did not work. So I have since replaced it with what they say is an updated controller, and they say it can get speeds of up to 35 miles an hour. But we'll have to test that while we're out in the trail a little bit later. And here we have the 48 volt, 20 amp hour battery with Samsung cells. And this is nice, it's molded into the frame, gives the bike a sleeker appearance overall. And you can charge this on the bike with the supplied 3 amp charger, which means you can charge this bike from 0 to full in just about 7 hours. But if charging on the bike's just too restrictive for you, fear not. You can take the supplied key and remove the battery from the bike and charge it wherever you want. Excuse me guys, I have to take this. Hello? What do you mean my car's extended warranty? To replace the battery, simply do the reverse of removal. Stick it back in, clamp it down, remove the key, you're ready to rock and roll. This is a torque sensor e-bike, which means the harder you press on the pedals, the more power it's going to give you in return, as opposed to a cadence sensor, which will just give you power based on whether the pedals are moving or not. Now, torque sensors are a more expensive option, and that's going to result in a more natural feeling riding experience, as it's going to give you feedback based on how hard you're pedaling. This bike's rear rack has a weight capacity of 150 pounds. The bike overall has a weight capacity of 450 pounds, which is pretty impressive considering the vast majority of bikes I test are weight capacities around 300 pounds. Kingbull states this bike will fit a rider between 5'3" and 6'7". For reference, this is what a 6'2" rider looks like on the Kingbull Jumper Go. Give you a little look at what that suspension is going to look like in action. Now, when I first glanced at this bike, this is actually a fairly small bike, and I was expecting this to fit really short riders. But however, if you look at the design of the seat post here, it's very high up, and that's due to the fact that the rear shock goes down through the middle of the frame. Now, a few bikes use this design. Unfortunately, what that means is you usually can't fit the seat post as low because this tube has to go on top of the rear shock. And on top of that seat post is this nice, fairly comfortable looking seat. But we'll have to see how that feels when we're out there on the trail. This bike is equipped with brand name Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, front and rear, and these are with 180 millimeter rotors. Give you a closer look at the cockpit on the Jumper Go. We have these rubber grips, the Tektro hydraulic disc brake handles, headlight and horn switch, your pedal assist and power button, but we'll go over more of that in just a second, your color display, Shimano 8-speed trigger shifter, half twist throttle, and your other Tektro hydraulic disc brake. And this is all on top of these BMX style handlebars. We're gonna hold the power button for a second or so, and that's gonna turn on the display on the Kingbull Jumper Go. And this is a pretty bright color display. I can see it, it's bright outside and I have no problem seeing it. It gives you your speedometer, battery gauge, your odometer, and pedal assist indicator. And the switch between your pedal assist levels, you press plus or minus here, and there's 5 to choose from, but more on that when we're out riding. To get additional information, tap the power button. You have a tripometer, voltage, time, amps, and back to odometer. This bike comes in a class 2 configuration, and in order to unlock this bike, you can hold the plus and minus buttons at the same time. And that's going to bring you into the menu. You're going to tap the power button, which will cycle you through your options. and we're gonna go in the P08. This one already comes set with a speed limit of 28. If you wanna unlock that, you can press the plus button, and the password by default is 1010, and then you're gonna change your speed limit. And now, this one came set to 28. I'm gonna set P08 all the way to the maximum of 100 miles an hour. Granted, guys, there's no way this bike's gonna hit that fast. And to save that, you can hold the plus and minus buttons. To turn on the headlight of the Jumper Go, you're gonna press the headlight button here, and that illuminates this nice big LED headlight. As well as having a headlight, this bike also has a tail light. This is also the brake light. When you use the brakes, the tail light lights up as well. The Jumper Go has a listed weight of 81 pounds, which is pretty light considering most e-bikes I review these days are at 100 pounds or even more. All right, guys, now we've gone over all the specs and features of the Jumper Go. Let's go do the fun part and take it for a test ride. Come on, let's go. All right, here we are out and about on the Jumper Go. Starting off in pedal assist 1. Pedal assist 1 takes us up to about 9. Pedal assist 2, feel a little more power coming in, getting us up to about 13, 14. Pedal assist 3, now we're moving along now. Pedal assist 3 is about 16, 17 comfortably. 4, we're gonna get going a little faster here, 20, 21, 23. So guys, pedal assist 4 is going to get us up into the 20s, and then pedal assist 5 is going to go to max speed. We'll check that one out in a little bit. So right away, the pedaling feels ergonomic, nice and smooth. The benefits of these torque sensors are they're more smoother pedaling experience because it's going to give you power based on how hard you're pushing into the pedal, not just going to give you power based on whether it's moving or not. And another thing I noticed, it's a nice benefit from these, is sometimes with the cadence sensor bike from a dead stop, you move the pedal and the bike will just lunge forward. With torque sensor bikes, it's not going to do that as much because you have to push on the pedal to initiate that power, and you're not going to just push on the pedal super hard right away. So I do notice stopping and going on torque sensor bikes is generally a more pleasant experience than on a cadence sensor bike. This bike comes with nice name brand components. You got the Bafang motor in the rear, 48 volt battery with 20 amp hours of capacity, and Samsung cells, which they say will give you a range of up to 80 miles, which if you're familiar with e-bikes at all by now, you know that all the range estimates they give on these things are wildly exaggerated. 80 miles might be possible on this bike if you rode around in pedal assist 1 and you weighed about 50 pounds. But given the size of this battery and the power output of this motor, I would estimate you'd be able to get a range of about 40 miles fairly easy on this bike. Here's what we look like at 6'2" on the Jumper Go. I'm noticing this is definitely a more upright riding position, especially with the BMX style handlebars. This is really comfortable. This is definitely going to be more of like a cruiser comfort bike. It's not aggressive. You're going to be able to just take your time, ride around on this for a long periods of time and feel comfortable, because you're not going to be hunched over the handlebars like you will be on a lot of bikes. And first impressions of the suspension, going over that speed bump right there, this bike has 100 millimeters of travel in the front fork, which is more than a lot of these bikes have. A lot of these bikes will have anywhere from 60 to 80 on average, so 100 is above average. I wish this front fork were adjustable, but I can tell you this has a decent amount of travel and it's going to be plush and give you a pretty comfortable ride. However, if you're going to hit any really big bumps, you're probably going to bottom out this bike, especially if you're a heavier rider. But for the rear, I'm riding it right now from the factory, and it seems it's on a bit on the stiff side, but we can always adjust that as needed. The rear suspension setup on this bike is very nice. As mentioned, this bike is on the lighter side, being at 81 pounds. I live on the second story of an apartment, so let's see what the experience is going to be like taking this thing up the stairs. Oh yeah, nice. Pretty easy to handle this bike. Another thing I'm noticing right away, this bike is quiet. You can hear the motor, but overall this is a nice quiet experience. You can only hear any noise from the suspension really if you hit something deep enough where the front fork bottoms out. But other than that, this thing's gliding over all this, not making any noise at all. So if you're new to e-bikes, this is a step-through frame. This used to be what was known as a girl's frame. However, I almost universally recommend, if you're new to these things, get a step-through frame, because a lot of these bikes are really big. And the ability to get on and off these bikes in a manner like this, as opposed to kicking up your leg over which could be a potentially very big bike. If you have mobility issues, you're not very flexible, you're not very tall, you're gonna have a hard time getting on a lot of these bikes. So the days of calling these things girl bikes are in the past. Have no shame at all when it comes to getting a step-through frame. Like I said, I almost universally recommend those. Riding around in pedal assist 3, this thing is nice and smooth. Cruising about 15 miles an hour and giving it a reasonable input. This is a pleasurable, nice experience so far. But as always, the first test will be the planks of doom. And being that this is a smooth, predictable torque sensor bike, 20 by 4-inch fat tires, maneuverability, I think we're gonna have no problem at all. But without further ado, let's find out. So far, no problem. This is very confidence-inspiring between the form factor of this bike and how smooth it is. We got company. And we're back to our mission. Making up for lost time. Woo. Oh yeah. Probably setting a speed record here on the planks. And we did it. The Kingbull Jumper Go, no problems at all. This bike feels very stable and predictable. All right, but this is a full suspension bike with 20 by 4-inch fat tires. We're gonna be able to take this bike a lot of places, and we're gonna come across a lot of terrain in the process. And so let's see how this does on this loose gravel here. Oh yeah, no problem. These fat tires with a wider contact patch with the ground do good on looser terrain such as this, where if you have a smaller tire, it's gonna wanna dig into those rocks, and it's gonna start squirming all over the place. So between the suspension on this bike, the tires, and the amount of power it has, I have a feeling you're gonna be able to take this bike pretty much anywhere you wanna go. And as a matter of fact, you're probably gonna be able to take this bike to some places you wish you hadn't gotten yourself into. Let's see how the Jumper Go does with some stairs. We were able to do the stairs, however, me being a 240-pound rider, plus about 10 pounds of gear, the front fork on this bike is plush. It'll absorb a lot of bumps and bangs from the road, but however, it's very plush and doesn't have a ton of support. The front fork was in fact bottoming out. But that being said, this front fork feels better than 90% of the suspension I test on these bikes. You're gonna have 100 millimeters of travel, which is a decent amount of travel. You're gonna be able to absorb the majority of obstacles you come across. However, it's just not gonna have a ton of support. So ironically, for a bike called Jumper Go, I don't think I'd be doing too much jumping on this bike. All right, it's time to see how fast we can get going. Throttle only on the Jumper Go. Pedal assist 5, 3, 2, 1, go. There's definitely a soft start going on here. But once it gets going, it gets going. We're getting 15, 20, 25, 28, 30, 31. I saw 32 flash there a second, but I think we're going slightly downhill here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this thing is capable of 30, 31 miles an hour. They did say this new controller can do up to 35. Keep in mind, I am 245 pounds. If you're a lighter rider than me, you might be able to get it faster, but I'd feel comfortable saying this is a 30 mile an hour e-bike. And being we're doing like 21 miles an hour now, pedaling in pedal assist 5, I'd say we start ghost pedaling on this bike about 23, 24 miles an hour. So I still like the gearing on this bike is pretty adequate for how fast you're probably gonna be riding this most of the time. All right, time to get off the boring old road and let's get back onto the bike trail. But one thing I did want to point out is the pedals on the Jumper Go are pretty low, and I just noticed a situation where my pedals were scraping going down a bump and I had the pedal in the down position. So you can see right here where the pedal scraped the ground. So be aware, the pedals on this bike are low and pedal strikes can be an issue. Since this is a full suspension e-bike, we're not gonna take the boring path, we're gonna take the side road, the path less traveled. And I have to tell you, this bike feels really smooth, really comfortable going over this rougher terrain like this. See, the front suspension's doing its job, it's soaking these bumps up. The rear suspension on this bike is absolutely great. So the Kingbull Jumper Go is definitely gonna be able to afford you the privilege of being able to do some spirited off-road riding. However, I wouldn't take this on anything too hardcore. You'll be able to take this thing on a variety of paths and have a lot of fun just cruising around. This is a very comfortable, smooth feeling suspension. I'm impressed. Oh my gosh, we almost forgot to give the horn a try. It's a pretty nice horn. Well, let's give it the no hands test. Jumper Go feels nice and solid. No detectable shaking. All right, it's time for everybody's favorite part of the review, the brake test. Let's see how good the Kingbull Jumper Go can stop. The brakes on this feel really solid. These are brand name Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, front and rear with 180 millimeter rotors. Braking is gonna be the least of your problems on the Jumper Go. Okay, time for the hill test. We're here at Misery Hill. Now, I definitely don't think we're gonna be able to do this one throttle only. So we are in pedal assist 5, we are in the lowest gear, and we are off. So far no problem, but we're not at the steep part yet. Guess it'd help if I actually downshifted. Oh, here we go. I can definitely see this bike has some very low gearing. So pedaling up these steeper portions like this or pedaling at low speeds is pretty comfortable in here, which is very nice with a torque sensor bike because inevitably you're going to find yourself shifting through the gears more on these than you would on a cadence sensor bike. So although we're not flying up this hill, this feels like it's not having too hard of a time with it. We're just staying right about 7 miles an hour and we're getting the job done. Working in unity with the bike to achieve our goal of climbing Misery Hill. And we did it. Although this isn't going to be the strongest climber in the world, I feel like for a Class 2, Class 3 e-bike, 25 amps controller, we made pretty easy work of the hill. We're going to try a little bit of a steeper hill here. This is definitely going to be outside of the recommended usage of these bikes, but let's try it anyways. Pedal assist 5, lowest gear. I'm cranking away. We're getting it done. We're still in the game. Oh yeah. Nice, we did it. Now, the way this bike is geared, I'm definitely liking the fact that I can still put some meaningful input in with my legs at the lower speeds. A lot of these bikes are geared so steep that at low speeds, you can't move your legs fast enough to really get any meaningful help. Let's see how it does down the hill. Oh yeah. This thing's kind of a little ripper. I'm surprised. For a step-through bike, the suspension on this bike feels really good. Much better than I'd say 90% of the suspensions I test on this channel. There you guys have it. It's the Kingbull Jumper Go. Some things I really like about this bike, for starters, it's got really nice suspension, especially in the rear with the AO38 RC fully adjustable air shock. It's got a weight capacity of 450 pounds, which means anyone's gonna be able to ride this bike. It's a step-through design, very accessible. It's light at 81 pounds. It's got pretty much brand name everything. Tektro brakes, Samsung cells in the battery, Bafang motor, and it's got a torque sensor. So it's gonna be a really nice, comfortable, natural ride. Some things I'm not too fond of with this bike, for starters, the price. This is an expensive bike at $19.99, minus any coupon codes I may have available. As much as I really like the rear shock, the front shock is very comfortable and plush. However, it doesn't offer a ton of support. I'd like to see this bike with an adjustable front shock to match the nice suspension it has in the rear. But other than that, I have no problem recommending this bike because it has nice components on it. It looks nice, it's got a quality frame. I feel like this bike goes a step beyond what most bikes do with better components. It's gonna last a long time, really smooth riding, and it's gonna be very approachable. So if you're new to e-bikes, this is gonna be your first e-bike, or you're getting this for somebody who doesn't need a speed demon, that just needs a nice quality bike that's easy to ride, I'd have no problem recommending the Kingbull Jumper Go. As always, guys, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you're interested in ordering one of these, you can use the link in the description of this video. Doing so does help support the channel. Anyways, guys, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.